Okay, so that's a value that has a range from 0 to 127. So simple enough. But there is another type of value, which in this particular manual they're calling them packed parameters. So look at byte number 6. Now, it says that the parameters stored in byte number 6 are oscillator 1 octave, oscillator 2 octave, oscillator 3 octave, as well as oscillator 1 to 2 sync, turning this on and off. So how is it that all of that is being used? How is it that all those parameters are being stored in a single byte when we just saw that it takes a whole byte to store a single parameter in this case? Well, what's happening, something that's called bitmasks are being used. And I'll show you how it works first, and then I'll show you what bitmasks are, although you might understand it by that point. So let's look at our specific example. Okay, so we're going to look at byte number 6, the one we just mentioned. So first of all, let's scroll back in the manual to see where these packed parameters are listed. They're actually back here a few pages. Okay, so packed controller. And we're looking at number 3. Nope. Yeah, that's right. It said look at number 3. So as you can see, it says bits 0 and 1 are being used to control the oscillator 1 octave. So there are 4 possible values for the oscillator 1 octave: -1, 0, 1, or 2. And those can be represented internally as the numbers 0, 1, 2, and 3. Well, as we saw a while ago, it only takes 2 bits to represent the numbers 0, 1, 2, and 3. So what we can do is we can use byte number 6, but we can just use these 2 bits within byte number 6 to store this particular parameter. So if you'll see that if I turn these down and up, 0, 1, 2, 3, that's actually how they're being stored in byte number 6, but in these 2 bits. Looking at oscillator 2 octave, the same possible values, -1, 0, 1, 2, again, 4 possible values, 0, 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and here it says they're stored in bits 2 and 3. So here's bit 2 and here's bit 3. Okay, so these are treated as a single value, these are treated as a single value, and as I'm sure as you can see, these are also treated as a single value. And then finally, bit number 6 by itself is just a little on-off switch. So sync on, sync off, sync on, sync off. As you can see, if you were to look at this whole number as a single number, it still could be viewed as a single number if we wanted to, but it's being treated as 4 separate values. Okay, but how is it then that we store things in those specific bits? We know how to set something to be stored in a particular byte, but how do you store something in specific bits within that byte? So to do that, you use what are called bitmasks. Now, just a brief explanation, and then I'll actually show you how it's done. So when you look at a normal number, like say the number 125, you could view it as being 125, right? Or you could see it as 2 numbers. You kind of break it up. Oh, look, it could be a 12 and then a 5. Or you could look at it as a 1 and then a 25. Right? Or you could view it as 3 separate numbers, 1, 2, 5. So just as a simple example, let's say you're having a party, and using 1 byte, you'd like to show how many people are going to be there, and also how many hours long the party will be. So what you could do is you could say, okay, bits 0 and 1, we're going to use those to store the number of hours that the party is going to be. So it's going to be 3 hours long in this case. And we'll use bits 2, 3, and 4 to store how many people are going to be at the party. So in this case, 4, 5. So 5 people are going to come. It's going to be a small party. It's going to be a relatively short party. Okay? But see how we're able to take 1 byte and sort of break it up and apply specific meaning to specific bits within that byte. Yeah, that's basically it. So now, as I said, how do we actually go about doing this in MidiQuest? Here we go. And this is actually how I have these hooked up. So, as we know, all of these are being stored in byte number 6, right, as we saw in the manual a while ago. But within byte number 6, we want them to be stored in the first 2 bits. So in order to do that, you want to click on these little guys down here until just the ones that you want it to be stored in are black. So I can turn these off real quick and show you. Okay, so I want it 0 and 1. Those are the bits that I want this value to be stored in within byte number 6. What about this guy? 2 and 3, right? Well, if we scroll down, you'll see 2 and 3 are highlighted. Okay, so this is what's called the bit mask. It basically just stores this value in these 2 bytes and treats this as a single value by itself. Alright, I think that's about it. So I might think of something I've forgotten later on, but for now I hope you can use all that information and be able to come up with some of your own layouts. Thank you.